This is Jim. He has been a financial specialist with Allstate for 9 years. He has personally sold thousands of life insurance policies and gathered and rolled over more than $80 million in assets. And he's been recognized nationally as a top financial specialist. His success is attributed to working with only 4 P&C agency owner partners. And he has done all this with a simple process called B-File. Jim has cracked the code. He created the process in 2006 when he walked into his first P&C office and discovered the true secret on how to turn a P&C customer into a financial services customer. He made 0 cold calls, and every lead he contacted already knew that he would be calling. His process became so successful that he trained agency owners nationwide who had never sold a single life policy or financial product on their own. He taught them how to implement the process inside their agency. So, let's address the challenge: selling life insurance and financial services inside a P&C office. This is Joe. He's an agency owner. His dilemma is how can he get his staff to consistently engage every new and existing customer in a conversation about financial services. Now, it seems simple, but the reality is Joe's sales staff does not want to talk about it because it is something they do not feel comfortable with. Why? Well, to the sales staff, the idea of offering financial services to a customer that was really only looking for a home or auto quote sounds like a big personal barrier that might result in the customer getting angry, or even worse, not purchasing the home or auto insurance at all. And let's face it, Joe's sales staff gets paid by the amount of P&C items sold, not financial services. You can't blame the sales staff or Joe. You see, selling life insurance and financial services is not a transactional sale. It's not about price or quoting everyone that walks through the door. It's about trust and identifying a need. Jim knew if he could keep the sales staff in their comfort zone, they would embrace a conversation that eliminated selling or even mentioning financial services. Now here's what Jim uncovered. The sales staff job is to quote home, auto, and commercial insurance. Now all of these lines have one thing in common, and that's liability coverage. The main purpose for liability coverage is to protect the customer's assets. It protects what they earn, what they own, and what they've saved. Now, 99% of your customers have no idea how liability coverage works. And they've had the same coverage limits for a majority of their years. Because every carrier that's quoted them, they've quoted apples to apples coverage. It was all based on price, and without truly having a detailed conversation. The sales staff had no problem asking a series of questions that ended up revolving around liability coverage. So now their job was to make sure they had the right amount of coverage. And by using B-File, the customer not only answered all the financial services questions, but they appreciated the education, and the staff was able to build a trusted conversation and uncovered additional lines of P&C items with inside the house. Soon, Jim and his agency owner partners perfected the flow and found the trigger points on when the sales staff should be engaging the customer in liability conversation. Now the sales staff's job became about what they were supposed to do anyway, making sure they quoted and sold correct liability coverage for every single household. Once the B-File was completed by the sales or renewal team, they'd send the B-File over to the agency owner for an onboarding conversation. Now Joe had a detailed financial services profile of every customer in front of him, and this was Joe's opportunity to build a relationship with his customers by picking up the phone and thanking them for their business. But like I said before, Jim knew that agency owners had different levels of knowledge around financial services, and he really didn't want to get them out of their comfort zones. So he built a scripted onboarding process that revolved around the P&C conversation, and the purpose was to build a trusted rapport before transitioning into scheduling a financial services appointment. So Jim had the agency owners open a conversation just by thanking the customers for their business, welcoming them to the agency, and introducing himself as the person responsible for making sure that all their protection needs were met. He checked up on his sales staff, and he offered any kind of agency promotion he was currently running. It was just having a good old-fashioned conversation, and he got to know every customer he talked to. Then before he hung up the phone, he introduced the customer to the next step in his agency process, and that was financial services. The agency owner created the need with the customer, and then teed up Jim for a phone call to schedule a financial services appointment. With Joe making sure his sales staff had a liability conversation and every existing and new customer was onboarded, the appointments for financial services started to fill up the calendar. With all the information already uncovered during the initial sale, the person selling financial services could now have a strategic conversation about financial services needs and quickly engage the customer in the appointment and make them a financial services customer. The simple 3-step process that Jim created for his agency owners is now known as the B-File. And because of the B-File, he was able to exceed all of his agency owners' goals and build a successful financial services practice, solving a PNC customer's needs one appointment at a time. So after having such great success with his process, the big insurance company started to have Jim present B-File to agents around the country. Agents would line up to ask Jim for the B-File questionnaire, but because it was just a paper process, the agency owners couldn't find a way to track or manage it. So with great demand, Jim decided to go and hire the best software developers to take the entire B-File process and create the perfect software system built with collaboration from his agency owners. All of the scripts became digital, and agency owners could track the progress of their staff and financial specialists. Because it is digital, all the B-Files could be sorted and filtered by the financial services needs of every customer. B-File was built for you, the agency owners and financial services reps. It is the most powerful software tool an agency owner could ever own. Now, like any great software program, we've tested the system for over a year with over 1,800 agency owners, sales staff, and financial service specialists. The developers, agency owners, and Jim created the ultimate onboarding process that generated the greatest financial services leads possible. No more questionable financial services prospects. B-File takes the guesswork out of determining who your next financial services customer could be. It is now your turn to get serious about implementing the B-File in your agency. And our goal is for every agency owner in the United States to make B-File a part of their everyday process. It's time to start today. It's time to get a proven process. It's time to take control of your financial future. It's time to B-File.